Hello again, it's week 7. This is Tina Wright for MPA 510, History and Theory of Public Administration, led by Dr. Sundstrom. This week we get to choose, so it's Reader's Choice Week. I really hope that I have gotten out of these articles what they say properly without having course discussion or study group discussion. So let's go. As an overview, I selected the works by Ronald Moe, Exploring the Limits of Privatization, and J. Stephen Ott, Understanding Organizational Culture. So starting off here with Ronald Moe and his concept of privatization, the article starts out by saying that we need to privatize more things in the public sector because the public sector is becoming too large and we can create efficiencies in privatization. This points back to Wilson's declaration that the responsibility of administration is to discover what the public can do properly and most efficiently. And so Ronald Moe lists these limitations on what cannot be privatized. And so his limitations include the fact that public entities have the rights and immunities of the sovereign, which means that they can coerce or force others to conform to law, that they can disavow debts, but they cannot go bankrupt, and they have the right to establish rules for the protection and transfer of property. A public entity also has a concern for national security and public safety, and once we get around these particular legalities or rules, then we can start to look into privatization. And so the article that I found to kind of demonstrate this is Competition, Negotiation, or Cooperation, 3 Models for Services by Ruth D. Hogue. And she utilizes the concept of defining these functionalities in her discussion on the different forms of contracting out public services. She uses the ideas of Moe's in the functions of explaining the role of the procurement manager and the responsibility to balance legal, political, and organizational needs when creating contractual relationships, often because of these constraints, negotiations and relationships are not more complex, and therefore they have not just a buyer-seller relationship, but everything must be considered as far as, what kind of policy and what kind of rules we might be breaking. And so, moving on to Ott and organizational culture. So Ott states that we are moving away from that organizational culture or organizational idea of the organization as a structured and systems perspective of Taylor and Gulick. So the organization is not just a grouping of people set together for a purpose or execution of a goal, but now an organization needs to be looked at more as a culture, and that there are intangible variables such as assumptions and cognitive patterns and values and beliefs, and we need to start studying those to see how change will affect the organization. In my article that I studied for this particular idea was the article on the ethics of at-will employment in the public sector. The authors, in their discussion on this particular topic, has to do with task effectiveness and individualism, and it kind of goes into Ott's concept of culture and the employee's sense of belonging to a work-life social system and the importance of security within the organizational culture to be able to initiate change. Possibly the initiation of this change might create a conflict, and to keep everything, the conflict might make everything more effective, but in order to create this conflict within the organization, the employees have to feel that they are secure in their work environment. And so if they don't feel secure in their work environment, then that could possibly lead to, disruptions, and at-will employment might make them feel less secure in their job security if they bring up these things that create conflict even though they might create efficiencies. So to summarize, I just wanted to point out that Mo's article related to the limitations put on public and private and what can be privatized. And in Ott's article, we need to study how the organizational culture is in order to make changes and see how that will affect the organization. Thank you.